Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Shortly, you will witness a military ceremony celebrating the selection of officer branches by an officer candidate. Please feel free to move about and take photos at any time. Today's host is Captain Calvin P. Rowe, Commander, Bravo Company, 3rd Battalion, 11th Infantry Regiment, OCS. He extends a special welcome to the parents, spouses, family, and friends of loved ones of the candidates of OCS Class 13-14.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, family and friends of Bravo Company 13-14. I'd like to welcome you to your candidates branching ceremony today. They've had a busy couple of weeks. Spent out at the field ship exercise, going into recovery. Surprised some of them are still awake at this point. Today marks another milestone in their 12-week journey while at Officer Candidate School. It's a big step for a lot of them as they pick their branches. That being said, I'd like to introduce the Commandant of Officer Candidate School, Lieutenant Colonel Matthew Newmeyer.
I appreciate you guys coming. It's one of those unique opportunities. It's a small thing we do. I'm going to take a couple minutes. I'm going to talk to these guys a little bit, so I apologize if it looks like I'm ignoring you, but feel free once we get the ceremony going, take your pictures, and I know you get a couple hours afterwards to talk with your candidates. All right, candidates. Now, I'm talking to everyone, even though there's a couple. Go ahead and sit down. So you're not going to take any pictures of me, you know that, Conal. So, so you can just go ahead and sit down. I'm talking to everybody, even though right now it's just a regular Army is going to be picking their branches. And I talked to the National Guard and Reserve. I point this out, even though you may or may not be branches up here either. I talked before branching, really for everybody to take a deep breath and relax for a second. OCS, you guys know the history, or at least you should know the history, right? You should have been reading your OCS, understand what you're getting into. Until recently, really until the recent history of this organization, we didn't do branching. Branching, even for a few years ago, branching was given to you before you showed up, because OCS is an organization that was born out of war. OCS was an organization that was devised in order to support wartime. Okay? But in our infinite wisdom, we determined there's a lot of great talent out there. There's a lot of great people who want to be a part of the Army. And so OCS became a permanent part of our commissioning system. But think about if you'd been sitting here, well, you wouldn't have been sitting here in 51 or 52, 64, 66, 67. If you were part of OCS, you knew where you were going and what you were doing. You were going to be in a combat branch, and you were going to go to Vietnam, you were going to go to Korea, you're going to go to Pacific or Europe, okay? The guys who volunteered then are very much the same as you. They volunteered for a reason, and it wasn't to get one of these branches up here. It was to serve as an officer, as a leader. United States Army. So, no matter what happens today, whatever you end up doing, remember that that's the goal, folks. Then 5 to 6 weeks, you graduate, you go on and lead platoons and companies. That is the goal. Because no matter what branch you get or what branch you've been given, right? As the saying goes, the first guys get to pick their branch, and maybe the last guys, the branch picks them. But no matter which one it is, you're going to lead troops. You're going to lead troops. So remember that. All right? So, with that, everybody take a deep breath. Relax, let it out. All right? When you get your branch, whatever it may be, like I said, whether you picked it or it picked you, and this goes for the folks back in National Guard and Reserve. Some of you may not have picked your branch either. Own it. Understand that the goal is still there. 5 to 6 weeks from now, you're going to be a lieutenant preparing to lead troops in combat. All right? And so because of that, the goal is there. And you, no matter what that branch is in your right hand, you raise it, smile. Get fired up. You just joined it. No matter what it is, you just joined it. So you might as well enjoy it. Right? You want to be upset? Do it on your own time. Do it in the bathroom. Don't do it with anybody else. But as far as you're concerned, I just joined the best branch of the United States Army. Because that's what they're going to expect you. They're not going to ask you, were you first or last? If they do, they got the wrong things in their mind. No one's going to ask you whether you're first or last. No one asked me, so what was your class ranking at West Point? The only people who ask me are other West Pointers. And those people are usually, I won't use the language I usually use because we've got guests. Those folks aren't thinking about the right thing, right? No one's going to ask you where your rank was. All they're going to care is that you give 100% all the time as a leader. And that you're prepared to lead them. That's all they're going to care about. All right? So, no matter what the outcome is out here, own it. Raise that right hand, say that branch, get fired up. You just joined a great organization, no matter which branch it is. And you might as well enjoy it. Because you got a couple of years with us, right? All right. So with that, let's get it going.
Ladies and gentlemen, you will now bear witness to the candidates of OCS class 13-14 select what branch of the officer corps in which they will serve. Across the Army, officers are ranked one of 16 basic branches. The maneuver fires and effective branches consist of the infantry, armor, engineer, military police, chemical, field artillery, and air defense artillery. The operations support branches are signal and military intelligence. The force sustainment branches are transportation, ordnance, quartermaster, adjutant general, and finance. The process by which officer candidates are allowed to reach the point of branch selection involves an in-depth assessment of their physical and academic performances and leadership potential. Despite the specific skill set of each branch, all officers serve the same purpose, and that is to be agile and adaptive leaders who serve our Army or take care of soldiers, civilians, and Army families.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Dozier, and I chose Signal.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Ruby, and I chose Chemical.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Hopprich, and I chose Ordnance.
Take your time, we'll get there.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Jones, and I chose Signal.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Scroggin, and I chose Aviation.
I am Intermediate Candidate Officer Candidate Texada, and I chose Infantry. Follow me.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Foley. I choose Military Intelligence.
am Intermediate Officer Candidate Isaac Graham, and I chose Military Intelligence, Branch Detailed Infantry. Follow me. I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Allman, and I choose Infantry. Follow me. I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate McGay, and I choose Infantry. Follow me. I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Schoen. I choose Military Intelligence, Branch Detail Infantry. Follow me. I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Wisdom, and I choose Military Intelligence, Branch Detail Armor.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Leininger, and I chose Signal Branch Detail Armor.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Holiday, and I choose Signal.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Funkhauser, and I choose Military Intelligence.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Bowman. I choose Military Intelligence, Branch Detail, Field Artillery.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Lee, and I chose Military Intelligence, Branch Detail Infantry. Follow me.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Coleman, and I choose Ordnance. I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Musselite, and I choose Military Intelligence. I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Knox, and I choose Ordnance. I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Underwood, and I choose Engineer. I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Lloyd. I choose Infantry. Follow me.
Intermediate Officer Candidate Marshall, and I choose Quartermaster. I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Lerma. I choose Infantry. Follow me.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Abbott, and I choose Military Intelligence.
Yeah! I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Anathan. I choose Adjutant General.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Stott. I choose Military Police. I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Dacong, and I chose Quartermaster.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Sukaria, and I choose Infantry. Follow me.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Ford. I choose Infantry. Follow me!
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Simonson, and I choose Infantry. Follow me.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Robbins, and I choose Military Police.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Stroud. I choose Military Intelligence, Branch Detail, Chemical.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Grion, and I choose Adjutant General.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Skinner, and I choose Engineering. I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Consul, and I choose Engineer.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Carlson, and I choose Quartermaster. I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Goldstein, and I choose Military Intelligence, Branch Detail, Armor.
I'm intermediate officer candidate Davidson, and I choose armor.
I'm intermediate officer candidate men, and I chose signal branch detail infantry. Follow me.
I am intermediate officer candidate Wayne, and I choose military police.
I'm intermediate officer candidate Davis. I choose ordnance. I'm intermediate officer candidate Hammer, and I choose military intelligence, branch detail infantry. Follow me.
I'm intermediate officer candidate McWilliams, choose engineer.
I am intermediate officer candidate Cole. I choose signal branch detail infantry. Follow me.
The only change we needed.
I am intermediate officer candidate Fermin Bendivolpi, and I choose military police.
I am intermediate officer candidate Hooper, and I choose engineering. I am intermediate officer candidate Ellert, and I choose signal branch detail infantry. Follow me.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Ogbe, and I choose Quartermaster.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Green, and I choose Engineer.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Sergi, and I choose Engineer.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Butte, and I choose Military Intelligence, Branch Detail, Field Artillery.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Lindman. I choose Quartermaster.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Boris, and I choose Armor.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Hernandez, and I take Air Defense Artillery.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Rosso, and I choose Transportation.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Chisenhall, and I choose Ordnance.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Bell, and I choose Air Defense Artillery.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate McDaniel, and I choose Signal, Branch Detail, Field Artillery.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Christie, and I choose Armor.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Martinez, and I choose Adjutant General Branch Detail Infantry. Follow me!
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Kim, and I choose Transportation. I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Mahaichik, and I choose Adjutant General, Branch Detail, Infantry. Follow me!
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate McGarry, and I choose Transportation.
I'm also Intermediate Officer Candidate Win. I choose Adjutant General Branch Detail Honor.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Officer. I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Sloan, and I branch Ordnance.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Sperry, and I choose Transportation.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Haldane, and I choose Adjutant General, Branch Detail, Field Artillery.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Williams, and I choose Field Artillery.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Bell, and I choose Field Artillery.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Sullivan. I choose Field Artillery. I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Austin, and I choose Field Artillery.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Montgomery, and I choose Transportation.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Listrot, and I chose Air Defense Artillery.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Smith, and I choose Field Artillery. I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Brigham, and I chose Field Artillery.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Edgman, and I chose Chemical.
No women have taken.
No one will take it.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Andrews, and I choose Field Artillery.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Tober, and I choose Field Artillery.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Arnett, and I choose Engineer.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Filer, and I choose Military Intelligence. I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Graham, and I choose Transportation.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Guerra, and I choose Aviation.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Manley, and I choose Engineering.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Metco, and I choose Engineering.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Reyes, and I choose Transportation.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Sullivan, and I choose Signal. I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Taylor, and I choose Quartermaster.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Teasley, and I choose Engineer.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Wigginton, and I choose Chemicals.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Bellamy, and I choose Signal.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Bob Pussy, I choose Military Intelligence. I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Kaufman, I choose Military Police. I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Dragovich, and I choose Infantry. Follow me.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Egan, I choose Chemical.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Gerlach. I choose Engineer.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Gessner, and I choose Armor.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Gutierrez, and I choose Adjunct General.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Hamilton, and I choose Field Artillery.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Harris, and I choose Transportation.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Holloway, and I chose Signal. I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Cooster, and I choose Engineering. I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Lieberman, and I choose Adjunct General.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Malong, and I choose engineer.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Matthews, and I chose Field Artillery.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Foreman, and I choose infantry. Follow me.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate McGee, and I chose military intelligence.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Juaniki, and I choose Adjutant General.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Nichols, and I chose engineer.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Novak, and I choose chemical.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Parker, and I choose Adjutant General.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Perez, and I chose MI.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Zontek, and I choose transportation.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Renberg, and I chose Signal.
I am Intermediate Officer Candidate Sato, and I chose military intelligence.
I'm Intermediate Officer Candidate Zader, and I chose armor.
Company!
Hold on. Andy, relax. All right, for our guests, even though we rehearsed this for like 6 hours this morning, we had folks sign in the wrong spots, and so what we had to do is kind of untangle the mess of where everybody was signed, and that's what was going on up here. So I apologize, it's not all that clear, it's a little difficult. Candidates, two things. When you rehearse that much, we really shouldn't have that much mistake. And writing, going into history, my confidence in your ability to write is low right now, so bring it back up next week. And with that, some of you with combatives, you're gonna have to work a little harder. Some of you. All right, so with that, proceed.
Company, attention! The OCS alma mater!
The OCS alma mater! Far across the Chattahoochee to the Upa Fund. OCS our alma mater, and its pride and joy. Forward ever, backwards never, faithfully we strive. To the ports of embarkation, follow me with pride. When it's time and we are called to guard our country's fight, we'll be there with our head held high, peacetime and in fight. Yearning ever, failing never to guard the memory. The call is clear, we speak the death for freedom and freedom. March along, sing your song, we're the army of the free. Count the brave, count the true, who have fought to victory. We're the army and proud of our name. We're the army and proudly proclaim. We're to fight for the right and to build the nation's might. And the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won. And the army goes rolling along. Then it's high, high, hey! The Army's on its way. Count off the cadence loud and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the Army comes rolling along.
Take charge of the company.
Damn
No compromise.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. We hope you have enjoyed the intermediate officer candidate branching ceremony of OCS class 13-14. Thank you for attending.
Company dismissed.